qualities. But Van is an extraordinary human being. He's gifted in very many ways. One is he's an amazing trainer. He was voted the best trainer in the Bay Area by the Guardian. He's also worked on the TV show The Doctors. He's done commercials, theater, acting. In addition to that, he is an incredibly successful training practice. He's worked with celebrities. He worked with somebody who, Viola Davis, who won an Oscar. He has a home in France, as he was talking to us about, and he's going to be living back in the Bay after leaving LA. He decides he likes the Bay again. And but Van is just a loving, authentic, smart, caring guy. He went to Cal, UC Berkeley for divinity, as well as got a degree in physiology and exercise physiology, so he could do training. He's a multi-threat, and we're gonna hear from Wanda, then Van. Ready to go?
Yep, great. Now, JV, do you have the link?
Yeah, she's got it all ready to roll.
Right now.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, we're gonna do that now.
We're here from Wanda, then you.
Okay, great.
Your text don't mean get out in them streets. The only way racism will stop is when white people tell white people to stop being racist. White people, you have to fix your problem. Yeah, it's your problem. We are not the problem. We're the victims. After the Civil War, you didn't clean up house. You didn't tell them, no, you can't do this. You can't put your statues up. You can't raise your flag. No, this is who we are now. You let them linger on and you lived off of it. You've enjoyed it. It's been good, hasn't it? But you see right now, it's not. For us, we're dying. But we can be better than that. We've been trying to be better than that. Step up, man. Y'all, I don't want to see another march led by black people. I need good white people. I love y'all. And please, white people, step up.
You know, that when I first saw that clip, for me, it was really shocking to hear. But the thing that stuck out for me was that it really resonated with me in such a profound way. I think that, and I noticed something as I was talking with friends on Facebook, on a number of different types of friends that I have from all walks of my life. And one of the things that I found myself saying to people, as some of my black friends were saying, we still got so much work to do. We've got so much work to do. We've got to do this. We've got to tell these people. And I remember finally getting to a place to where I, like what Wanda was saying, I was thinking, you know what? We have pretty much, as black people, I felt, has said just about everything we possibly could say. We've done, I believe, everything we possibly could have done, and that we still find ourselves in this place where there doesn't seem like there's been any kind of movement. There really hasn't been any kind of growth. We had our first black president, and then to hear finally people say, oh, racism is over, that we don't have to worry about it anymore. Knowing that that was not true, it was also something that infuriated me, because again, it was one of those things that I felt was letting people off the hook. As I started to speak with more friends about that very topic of maybe what our message really needs to be to our white counterparts really is to say, we need your help, and to also go to not worrying about people who we know that were completely just not going to come along with us, but to actually really speak to those people who we believed were our allies and help them to then understand exactly what we believe allies meant, and that it wasn't going to be enough, as Wanda says, to just, to join in on a march or to type something up or what have you, but that action really needed to happen, and that we needed to encourage a section or a community of people to really be able to stand up and say, whatever it is that you might believe, or allowing things to be said at dinner tables or at your work and not stepping up really was a big part of the problem. And I think that that's exactly what it is that we're finding now. I really appreciate this opportunity to have this time to sit with you and talk about something that I've become very, very passionate about, and I've been passionate about for several years. It started for me when I was in college. I grew up in the 80s, I'm 51, and even still I had my dashiki wearing, large afro, fist pumping time. And I did that all at a Lutheran university here in Southern California. And I went to this university kicking and screaming. I didn't want to go at all. And one of the big reasons why I didn't want to go was because it was an all-white university. There were probably about 12 of us Black folks, and then maybe a sprinkling of others. And I realized that even though I had grown up in Los Angeles and I grew up in a very racially diverse neighborhood, that I stepped onto that campus and I was afraid to death. It was the most difficult thing, I think, for me up to at that point as a 17-year-old to step into a world that was so completely unfamiliar to me. But the interesting thing was it was probably four of the best years of my education. I really came into my own during that time. And then I also, at that point, like I said, became very passionate about talking about race relations in a very, difficult kind of a situation, because I felt very much alone. I was a part of an organization that we founded called REACT, Racism, Education, and Action on Campus Today. And we started to we started going around and giving talks to various classes about the issue of racism. Now, as a 17, 18, 19-year-old, this was the very, very first time that I had really come to understand the differences between Black and white people and the great divide that existed. Like, we could share all the same names, and we could live in the same places and share so many different things, but that when it came to the issue of race, I was amazed at the divide that existed. And I also really became, learned something about the situation in a much deeper way than I had ever imagined. I had gone to a number of different conferences, and at the time I was introduced to the idea that only white people could be racist. So, I took all of what I learned and I came back to this white Lutheran university and I said, all you white people are racist, and you can only be racist. And you can imagine how that was received. I realized that, the pushback that I got was incredible, and it was something that I was not necessarily prepared for, but it really did teach me a lot. And again, brought me to this place of feeling like there was something that I could do. So a number of years, I put forth a lot of effort into trying to bring awareness to communities about race. And then eventually I just gave up. And I got tired of what I felt like was hitting a wall. So I was very encouraged after a number of different incidents relating to police brutality, as far as Black men getting killed, to finally see this hashtag that just warmed my heart in such an incredible way. The first time I saw hashtag Black Lives Matter, I remember just feeling a deep sense of what it was, just a deep sense of relief that we had this now social media platform and an opportunity to really be able to get out a message to say that, it was not enough for us just to continue to cohabitate, or at least try to cohabitate, but that we actually needed to do something, and that it was not enough for all of us to sit and allow for Black men, especially, to be killed senselessly by the people who we believed and expected to be a part of those who were going to protect us. Now, my experience is an interesting experience because I'm a product of a police officer. My dad was a police officer. He became a police officer in the 70s and was a police officer for about 40 years here in Los Angeles and then also in Riverside County, just east of here. And what was interesting about that was that he was very much into telling us two things. One, don't ever become a cop. It's one of the most racist institutions that you will ever be a part of. And then two, as a child of a cop, many of you probably have heard that all Black men get a talk from their parents. We all get a talk to say that when you step outside of your home, it's not safe. So hearing that from him, to talk about what his colleagues might do to us or how they might perceive us as children, and giving us the whole talk of where to put our hands when we got stopped by the police, what to say, what not to say, not to move quickly, was really interesting because we had several of his friends who were white who would come over and they would, we would enjoy family barbecues and meetings and parties and all of that. But then to see them also, and I guess as a kid, it's hard to kind of rationalize any of that, but I began to see them as enemies. It was strange because my father was a part of that. So bringing it back to Black Lives Matter and then just seeing how there's just this kind of resurgence of these youth who are saying that we're no longer allowing for this to happen, that we are wanting to make sure that we are fighting white supremacy, which I believe is probably the biggest issue. I think when we're talking about racism, really, in my mind, about white supremacy. And I think that is, and it's a tough topic and a tough thing for most white people to digest, but to begin to understand that white supremacy is not about these others, but really is more about taking that opportunity to think about where am I in the mix of all of this, and what is it that I truly believe, and how do I interact in my communities with people. I know many of you live in the Bay Area, and it's a very diverse, or just California, very diverse, but yet I think it's easy to still find ourselves in these segregated places and not necessarily have be in spaces that are very inclusive. So then also to say that we are looking to not only fight police brutality and but also just vigilantes, people who feel take it upon themselves to believe that Black men, are violent Black men, are criminals and all of those things, and to feel that they have then the right to inflict some type of control, over us. The way that now that his has transpired into my work, even though I'm a fitness trainer, but I do have a background in theology and metaphysics. And so I bring that sense to my coaching, my wellness coaching, is that majority of my clients are affluent white people, and they're able to afford my services. But the interesting thing is that I have become their kind of go-to. Because I find that people want to talk and my clients want to talk. So when BLM started to happen, they started to really understand that it was something that it was important for them to look at. They would come to me, we start our session, I'm ready to exercise. And they're like, I just want to apologize. That was the interesting thing. My first thing was a number of people wanted to apologize and say, I'm really sorry because I didn't really know that these things were happening. Again, which is interesting because a number of these people are my parents' age, and my parents went through Jim Crow. So my thought was always, where were you and what were you thinking at these various times that these things were happening? And then also people have been asking me, what should I do? I don't know what to do. So we've been having some really wonderful, great, interesting discussions, and I've been sharing, what information that I have, what my experiences have been, and then also, we've been sharing books and movies and different things like that to help people to become educated and to help them then to understand of what it is that they, and make some decisions about what it is that they could do in the mix of all of this. And then the other thing that has been very interesting to hear is people who really want to do something. They really want to do something different now. And I think that that, in my mind, is where therapists and psychologists can come in. There's a discussion that people want to have, and I believe that with your expertise and your knowledge about the mind and all these things, that therapists, psychologists, et cetera, can be great facilitators of the discussion. Again, that it's not really about what it is that Black people can do or people of color and how much more Black people or people of color can actually say, but to actually be able to have those people who might want to facilitate discussions and how, again, because I know that there are things that people, won't say to me, but there are a number of things that people might want to and be willing to say to you. And then to begin to take that expertise and help move people along and help to empower people, one, as they relate to their own, beliefs about themselves being racist, which I know a lot of my clients have been talking about. I didn't know I was racist. Now I realize I believe that, this, that, and the other thing. And in reading like White Fragility, they're learning some things about themselves that they didn't know. And I think that that's where it is that your community can kind of come in and facilitate this dialogue and really be able to move it along, to take that baton that I believe that Black Lives Matter is working to pass on to people, and then to really be able to bring about this great change. The last thing I'll say is my father is 70, almost 80 years old, and he's been through an incredible amount when it comes to racism on the police force and then just his upbringing. And he grew up in Oklahoma, so you can only imagine the things that he's been through. But even still, he's been a serviceman. He's a vet. He still served his country, and he came back and he served his country for another 40 years. And even still to this day, he says that he has never been more hopeful than he is today. And he really believes that now is the time, now is the opportunity. And he believes that the reason why this is happening is because he says, I finally believe that white people have finally come to an understanding and have a desire to want to be a part of this change.
Thanks, man. All right.
Yep.
Ivan, I was going to ask you, can you talk about your podcasts that are coming up?
Yeah, I've got a number of friends who are very, very vocal community folks. And so what we're going to do is, and they're all in this 50 years old range. And what we're going to do is we're going to sit down and we're just going to have some discussions. We're going to talk about what their different experiences have been and are. We're just going to kind of shoot the shit and have an opportunity to just so we want people to really just hear from Black folks and really listen to where it is that we are and what it is that we believe. And while we have our varying views, on things, largely Black folks tend to think the same way for the most part. And so we want to have an opportunity where we can just have a dialogue and sit and chat and hopefully be able to express some things over a podcast that might be helpful to you as well.
Thank you. So anyway, there's going to be a posting on the website for the podcast for Van and some of his friends, couple from Hollywood. You can read the information in the industry, as they say in LA. And so thank you. That was really awesome. Thanks for sharing your personal experiences and letting us know about this.
Sure.